All right, this whole chapter was about quadratic equations, and one of the things that we spent some time on was graphing. And when we graphed, we had a couple different forms to graph in. We had standard form, where it was y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, and most recently, vertex form, y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. So there are a couple of things that are a little bit different with each one. To find the vertex from vertex form, remember that's pretty easy. We can tell just from looking at it. That's why it's called vertex form. X minus h, remember our x coordinate of the vertex is always the opposite of what's in here. So if we have a minus h, our x coordinate would be positive h. If this was a plus h, our x coordinate would be negative h. And our y value of our vertex is always the number out here, exactly what you see. So plus k, it's going to be a positive k. Now, for this standard form, it's a little tougher to find the vertex. We have to use a little formula. Opposite of b over 2a. So opposite of this number divided by 2 times this number. That just gives us the x coordinate. In order to find y, we have to take this, whatever number we get, and substitute it in for x into both x's. Right? That gives us the y value. The next two things are the same for both of these. A is our leading coefficient. If A is positive, then the graph opens up. Right, so if this number out in front is positive for either one of these, that means the parabola is going to open up. If that number is negative, it's going to open down. The other thing that we've talked about in the past and kind of talked about a little bit here is intercepts. X-intercept, remember to find an x-intercept we put 0 in for y and solve for x. To find a y-intercept we put 0 in for x and solve for y. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple graphing problems and finding a few of these different things. The directions here ask us to determine the vertex of the parabola. We had some notes up top to tell us how to do that. Determine if the graph opens up or down, and find the y-intercept, and then last, sketch the graph. So for each of these, we have a different form. First one is in standard form. If we want to find, what's our first thing here? We want to determine the vertex. This is the tougher one. Remember, the x-coordinate is opposite of b over 2a. b is negative 12, so opposite of that would be positive 12 over 2 times 3. Right, a is 3. So 12 divided by 6, we get 2 for our x value. But that's just our x. We need to know what y is also. To find out what y is, we just substitute 2 into the equation for x. So y equals 3 times 2 squared minus 12 times 2 plus 5. So we just have to evaluate that. Use your calculator if you need to, but you shouldn't have to. 2 squared is 4 times 3 gives us 12 minus 12 times 2, we get 24 plus 5. So 12 minus 24, we get negative 12 plus 5, we end up with negative 7. So our vertex is at 2, negative 7. Part B asks us to determine if the graph opens up or down. Remember, that depends on what A is. If it's positive, like this one, that means our graph is going to open up. Part C, find the y-intercept. It says right here, to find the y-intercept, we put 0 in for x. So 3 times 0 squared minus 12 times 0 plus 5. We get 0 minus 0 plus 5. So our y-intercept is just 5. The last part here is to graph. So we already did the first thing we have to do to graph. We have found the vertex. Remember, that goes in the middle, 2, negative 7. Then we need to figure out 2 points smaller than that, 2x values smaller than that, and 2x values bigger than that. Remember, out of the 1 and 3, we only have to plug one of those in because we're going to get the same thing out. So let's do 1. That's a little bit easier. If we put 1 in to this equation for x, 3 times 1 squared minus 12 times 1 plus 5, we just have to simplify. 1 squared is 1 times 3, we get 3. Minus 12 times 1, just minus 12, plus 5. So negative 9 plus 5, we get negative 4. So that works for both of those. Then, if we put 0 in, that's real easy, and we've actually done it already. If we put 0 in, we end up getting 5 out. So now we have enough points to sketch our graph. Our vertex is at 2, negative 7. We have a point at 1, negative 4. I'm sorry, that's 1, negative 4 there. 3, negative 4 is the first one I did. 0, 5, and 4, 5. So this one's going to be a tall, skinny parabola. All right. Number 16 is a little bit different because it's in vertex form, but it actually should be a little bit easier than the last one. Why don't you go ahead and try doing that one on your own, and then we'll check on it in a second.